So in Ma family training, there's essentially 3 basic Qigongs that you work on first. The first one, we're doing the full-time course. We did yesterday, but we'll describe it again because we're filming. So the very first one, and that way if you have any questions too, just ask me, right?
Yeah.
Good for everybody if anybody watches this. So threading the pearl, which I always called connecting the dots. So pretty simple. You spend a little bit of time in meditation, and the idea behind the meditation ahead of time is you're trying to reach a one-pointed state. So I'm not even going to go into all that in this video. Basically, you sit for a little while and you get very calm, okay, putting your mind on your dantian. And then once the mind is at dantian, and you've started to do the dantian qigong, which is asking it the 3 questions, right? So you ask yourself, what does dantian look like? What does dantian feel like? What does dantian sound like? Those are 3 really important questions. If you can answer those, then what happens is you sort of like, it starts to become like a real place to you. And your mind is connected more heavily to your body than it once was. Okay. Then, for the threading the pearl, you start traveling through the body. So you take the mind from dantian, you go up the center of the body, and then down one of the arms, right? So you basically come up to your heart, down one of your arms, and with your mind you trace each of the digits. So you go through each one of your fingers, right to the end, and then back up the same arm, to the heart again. Do the other arm. Okay, and this can take however long you need it to take. Once you've done the second arm, you go back to the heart, back down to dantian. Settle a moment again, make sure everything's together. And if things are going well and you're feeling it, you can keep going, then you start traveling down one of the legs, okay? Same thing, down the limb, into each digit, down to the end of each toe. You're trying to find and locate each toe just by using your mind. It's not the easiest thing to do because our feet are really far away, especially cognitively, right? They're really far from our eyes, so they're hard to see and feel. So each toe, then you come back up to dantian, down the other foot, same thing, back up to dantian, and that's stage 1. So you spend some time sitting with that, and that can take whatever amount of time you need it to be. Because you don't want to just be like, oh yeah, my mind's at my heart now, and then my mind's over my shoulder. You actually want to feel every inch in between. So it's like you're tracing the surface of your skin almost with your mind, right? So you can feel every bit of you. You know exactly where your collarbone is, you know, all of that sort of stuff. It's just that it's easiest to understand it is finding the digits. Cool? The second stage is once you've done all of that and everything's cool, if you're still able to be sitting and it's not difficult to sit afterwards, because sometimes that might take a long time, right? Or you've been practicing the first stage for a while. The second stage is getting to that same place. You've traced all 4 limbs, and then you bring your mind into 3 places at once. So I've got my mind on dantian as my focal point, and then on Neigong on both hands as the center of the palm. And you sit with that. And it's not just feeling the 3 places, it's feeling the connection between the 3 places. In my Lohan teacher would say it would be like feeling the golden thread that's going throughout the body, which is where the whole threading the pearl stuff comes from, right? It's an old Taoist thing. So at that point, then you're trying to connect your upper body, your limbs, your digits, Neigong, right, to dantian. So that everything is sort of threaded together. Sit with that for a while. If it's no problem, add the feet as well. So now you've got 5 spots. So it's like having a one-pointed state in your mind, but your mind is in 5 places. It's really not the easiest thing in the whole wide world to do. So it's something to think about. And to spend time with it. Neigong practices like this, these kind of deep internal qigongs, take time to get good at. Like I didn't learn those first 2 stages together. You know, it was do the first one for a few months, and then, you know, I'd talk to my teacher, blah, 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 and then, oh, okay, we'll try it this way. Right, I'd get something else. But, so that's the very first of the basic qigongs. Do you guys have any questions from yesterday? No, that's fine, you're writing, it's all good. Multi.
Yes, please.
Yeah, threading the pearl. There's a few variants on this one too, but that's the basic one. One of the things this one will do is not only connect more deeply your mind into your body, right? Because psychological change creates physiological response. But it gives you things like distancing. You actually start to know how long your limbs are. And you start to feel more about the connection in between them. So that if, during martial arts practice, you need to be corrected on a particular part of a movement, like your hips coming out of line, for instance. That's a really popular one, right? You'll have the back and the leg, and people will stick their hip out. So it breaks the connection between upper and lower. Well, then if you touch the student's hip and push it back into place and explain what's up, if they've been doing this Qigong, it's easier for them to do. Because it's like, oh, I know where my hips are, right? I've paid attention to my hips before on my way down through that Qigong. So it becomes really helpful. No questions? All right, fine. That's the first one. That was the first one.